Hey there, Flunkie Force. It's Game Flunkie. I haven't decided if I'm going with Chubby Flunker or Chubby Gamer yet, or Bearded... Why did I say Chubby Gamer? Bearded Gamer, whatever. But this is Monday's podcast, where I talk about the bullshit that I can't talk about. Well, I can't talk about on YouTube, but I'm more animated here normally. Anyway, so if you haven't guessed already by the title, we're going to be talking about JRPGs. Now, before we get into it, if you're watching this podcast, or you're listening to it, but you're listening to it through YouTube, before you go any further, there are spoilers, because I'm using clips from Tales of Berseria. I've got the full game, I'm playing it. So the clips you're seeing is somewhat later into the game, around level 24, so if you don't want to be spoiled by the game, there are going to be cutscenes and things of that nature that have been added in, so if you don't want to be spoiled about it, then click off from here. But if you're cool with that, keep on watching. Without further ado, let's kick it. What we're going to be talking about today is my opinions on the JRPG genre. Therein, Japanese role-playing games, essentially your sort of online games, your Tales series, Final Fantasy, things of that nature. I'll go into what I believe, in my own opinion, what is the problem, if there is any, within this genre, and what do I think could reinvigorate the genre, to say, sort of, so to speak. Let's get into it. Take a brief intermission so I can, even though I'm recording for the podcast, I gotta export the audio over for the YouTube channel. Don't worry about it, it's just technical bullshit. So anyway, let's get into it. Drinking my Aquafina. Being healthy today, even though I just ate Arby's, so fuck it. So first off, let's get into it. Let's talk about where I think the strengths are of JRPGs, depending on who you're talking about in this genre. We'll go with the big ones that everybody knows. We'll go with Final Fantasy. We'll go with Fire Emblem. We're using Nintendo, and then we have Square Enix. So Final Fantasy, Final Fantasy, Fire Emblem, Tales series, Star Ocean series, not as popular as the rest of them. So we'll go with those right off the bat. Let's use strengths and weaknesses so far. Alright, so I played World of Final Fantasy on the PS Vita. It's a port that came from the PS4. Great game, phenomenal. It has what a lot of gamers call it the rail system, where it's just a straight storyline. You don't really branch off, not like Witcher, where, Witcher 3, we had tons of different outcomes and side quests and scenarios. Alright, although World of Final Fantasy does, there isn't, far from what I'm seeing, much deviation from the main storyline. Alright, which, for a lot of reasons, could be, people might fucking hate it. They might be like, alright, fuck it, I don't want that, Along with the turn-based combat that people have gotten really tired of. Which, with the new release of the new Final Fantasy game, I always tell people, yeah, it's a great game, it's fun, it's got action-oriented combat, but it's not necessarily what Final Fantasy usually does. Unless you're playing their MMO, then, that and this new one is kind of like a different step. Alright, then you have Sword Art Online. They released another one for the Vita and PS4, where you kind of step into the show and the manga like you would in the show and the manga you play in a virtual reality. Simulated virtual reality with you and your friends, and you have lists of skills you can get from equipping certain weapons. You can change your look. Again, just like a show. It's kind of on rails and it's kind of not. But what I mean is you can explore the world of Sword Art, but you again have a straight side of that. A straight on the rails system where you're just following one particular storyline. Alright, then you have Tales of Berseria, which I think by far, out of all the ones I've named so far, is iconic. Is not iconic. Someone said the other day we used the word iconic too much. It is, as far as the ones I've listed so far, it is standing on par and beyond what the others have brought to the table. And I'll get into that in a minute, because I've said this before about this particular genre, and it speaks into also the MMO version of this genre too, is some of the things I think are going to kill off the genre if we do not start to branch out, in my opinion. Alright, so I mentioned World of Final Fantasy, I mentioned Tales of Berseria. Okay, we said Fire Emblem. The reason why I mentioned Fire Emblem is Fire Emblem within itself, to my opinion, again, is JRPG. And if you don't, the reason why we call it JRPG is because they're Japanese market, Japanese-esque type of games that originated from a certain area. It's always been like that. It's just, that's what we call it over here. But just for a quick synopsis is why I just mentioned that. But fuck it, we're moving on. Anyway, so then we got Fire Emblem, which it has sort of a branching storylines that can have different endings depending on what you choose, you communicate with, you fall in love with, so much so that over time it could change, which is cool. With the recent release of the Fire Emblem series, Conquest, Birthright, there's 3 of them, Conquest, Birthright, and then Fates, which is like Conquest is one side. It's kind of like Pokemon, you got red, blue, and yellow. So again, branching storylines. Now, I mentioned Pokemon, but I'm not really going to, because if they keep on the path they're going, they'll never die the fuck out. So, and they're not really they're a freak within the genre, because even though World of Final Fantasy has sort of like a Pokemon system, but we'll get into that. It goes towards the strength, what I'll mention. So you have all these different games that each have their strengths and weaknesses, which is perfectly fine. Every game does. A Witcher 3, which I think is one of the most thought out and well-developed RPGs I have ever had the chance to play. The whole series. With riveting story, dynamic combat, beautiful world, interesting characters, great dialogue. I mean, Witcher as an RPG is great, but we're talking about JRPGs and the genre they're in, which is I'm a big fan of. So we're going to hit a World of Final Fantasy first. World of Final Fantasy, what they did. You had on a rail system, straight dead-end storyline. You have twin brother and sister. Won't go too much into it, but they have to save the world, that current world they're in. How they go about doing it is they battle with the monsters, iconic monsters, or renowned ones from the Final Fantasy series, like Chocobos, Behemoths. You'll have summons that you can control, like, not Quasicolt, but Valivor, Ifrit, Ramu, Shiva. So you get the idea. So kind of like Pokemon, you have the stacks, not like Pokemon, but you have a stack system where you collect these monsters and you stack them on top of each other, and you can fight with 6 monsters at once. Or 5, depending. It's weird, but the point being is, it is turn-based, but instead of it just being turn-based with 2 kids fighting with magical powers and beasts, they added the beast to it, and they added this great dynamic skill system that goes along with each beast, so each beast can not just evolve, they evolve like Pokemon, with what they're called Mirages, but they evolve into stronger beasts, and these beasts can branch off, become other beasts, different variants. So what they did was, their weaknesses, they have a rail system, straight dead-end storyline. But they added this like Pokemon kind of system that allows you to spend hours and upon hours, like hundreds of hours worth of content just exploring different species of monsters from the Final Fantasy series. That really gives you, I find, tons of fun because it gives you more to do. And that goes into what I've said with JRPGs. There's not much for a side quest in the game that I know of. There's like a little pick-me-up quest, you go help with townsfolk, you'll see a little exclamation point, and boom, you're pretty much doing like a kill quest or something like that. So there's not really much involved. But what really sets it apart too is also the quirky little dialogue between the brother and sister, and of course all the old Final Fantasy characters like Cloud, Squall, the Holy Knights, whatever, Thunder, Lightning, I can't remember them all. But you see iconic characters from, I'm just going to use that word a lot today, fuck it, Jesse. But you'll see iconic characters from the Final Fantasy series. So not just being, and you can summon them with little coins and stuff like that. So that right there is a good example of taking what your weakness is and then adding something new to it to keep the player involved and engaged with the game. That's the big key point. Sword Art Online, I've said it before, that's the one thing with the game series when they brought it over, is it's an ugly looking game in my opinion too. Like, I think World of Final Fantasy is beautiful. The world is breathtaking. I love it. Same with Tales of Berseria. I don't know why, but for some reason the Sword Art game is just ugly. I mean, usually graphics don't matter, but I don't know. Just it looked like I just can't get into them. The skill system's kind of wonky. It really. The quest system is weird too. Like, I really want to give it a shot, but the one thing I will say is, much as I hate it, I still enjoyed it. Like, there was a lot of things I could pick apart about it, like weird quest system, the world. Even though it's a linear storyline, you really didn't have much branch off because but this is where I didn't like it. It had a linear storyline, but it was based off an MMO. So I was like, well, why don't you make it more Witcher-esque, where you have a branching storyline, where you have different dynamics in play, the factor. Don't base off the main characters. Why not create a whole new game? Because you gotta remember, if you follow the comic books, there's multiple different MMOs now, thanks to the events of the first series, the first season of Sword Art Online, first and second. So there's all these different versions of Sword Art Online out in the universe of that show. So they could have gone and branched off and created a whole new game with a whole new set of characters and created a whole new world, whether that wouldn't be restrained by the anime and by the manga, which I thought would be a great idea, but they didn't. And I think it took away a lot of strength and power that game had. And I think they should have done it. Again, that goes towards the end of what I'm going to say. So, we talk about Fire Emblem, we talk about the dynamic characters and choices that you can make. Now, we talk about Tales of Berseria. Tales of Berseria, to me, has every motherfucking thing I just mentioned, and thank you, Bandai Namco. Okay, so you got riveting storyline, you got memorable characters you want to care about, characters that you give a damn about, you have a beautifully drawn world, you've got great combat system, you've got beautiful skills and powers, characters look iconic, oh my god, just look phenomenal. There's just so much about the game, and here's the thing, it's all ratings. Like, it has a straight dead storyline, there's not much you're going to deviate from that, but you know how they got you through it? And this goes back to my end point. They have side quests that sort of interact with the main storyline, so you feel like you're not going too far out, but you're not still stuck to the story. You can branch out, have some fun, do this. They have these little beasts you have to hunt with special powers that are special compared to the rest of the beasts in the area that are called red demons. And I won't go into that because I'm going to do a let's play on this area. But what that does, it adds more content for you to play. You can send expeditions out with your ships, which if you're watching this YouTube version, you'll see me stop the game once in a while, go to a little tab, and it lets you pull up a ship. That ship scouts for new islands. I don't know if we travel to those islands, but technically, quote unquote, the ship goes out, searches, bringing back food and materials and rare treasure, right? Then, accompanied with that is this crazy ass skill system that's based off the armor that you're wearing. For example, if my main character, who is Velvet, her sword, right? She has a special ability that comes with the sword, not the other little shit below it, but a little special ability. If I max out that little ability, you see a little bar and it'll say mastered if you mastered. That ability is permanent with my character. Even if I took the weapon off and put another weapon on with a separate ability, I've acquired that ability. So as you're training, so you now, because these games like these are grindy as fuck. So it just went from a boring 3-hour grind fest to a fucking fun 3-hour grind fest for me, because now I have a goal. I'm achieving something. I'm going towards something. I'm making some kind of headway. I'm not just sitting there for hours on end bashing my head into a wall wondering, what the fuck have I done with my life? Because for 3 hours, look at the same, and that's what I'm saying. Is that skill system right there, aside from the art system that they introduced, besides the stun, paralyze, and break guard system they have, which I think is pretty cool. It's very fast, it's very action oriented, it's very on the fly, so it's not like stop, wait, collaborate, and listen. No, you're on the fly doing it. But when you're not, if you want to critique and build your character any way you want, this game allows you to do that with some regard. With the armor and weapons and equipment that you wear. Like, and I am very meticulous now. That's another thing I love, is that I'll sit there for hours on end. Like, I put 11 hours in, but I put 11 out, like 6 out of those hours has been me just grinding away and leveling up my different armors and stuff, because it gives me something to do. That is where I think JRPGs are going to lose people a lot of times. There are tons of good ones, but the big mega hitters, like the Star Ocean one that came out, people had a problem with it. It felt like it was cut and paste, it was repetitive, it felt boring at times, it felt like you weren't going anywhere. That's the problem. It's just like the MMO version that comes from the west, from the east. It's like it's just grind away fetch quests, which is, if it works for that area, cool. But as far as the American person, for our world, as far as where we're from, that gets kind of redundant and repetitive, and people don't want that. So I was like, well, Berseria did it wonderfully. Yeah, it's on rails, it's stuck on a certain track, you're going to go a certain way, but you got memorable characters, you got a beautifully dynamic world, you got a storyline that's not all about hunky-dory fan service and girls with big breasts. No, I'm into anime, I know what I'm talking about, you know? It's about characters that you're going to remember, it's about a storyline that touches your heart, it's about an area or a world that you want to be a part of. It has a system, a skill system that's like, not a common, but I hate that word now. But it's ever changing. You can tweak it, like, as always with Tales series. You have an equipment system that I think is brilliant, and I hope they upgrade to the next. And this is the thing. This game was made off the back of Zestria, which is the one before, and I thought Zestria was a fucking abysmal piece of shit. Sorry guys, that game was fucking horrible. But Berseria was great. It was awesome. The thing is, what Berseria brought to the table was it brought a breath of fresh air, it changed a little bit up, and it went back kind of like Exilia was, Tales of Exilia, because apparently, I never got to play it. It was on PS3 and I had 360 back then. Tales of Exilia was darker, than the Tales series, which is like, okay, that's cool, it works. This is not Batman vs Superman. People are not gonna fucking hang you if your storyline's dark in JRPG. That might be something people wanted. That's what I'm saying. Like, these companies have to take the balls and initiative to step out of their comfort zone, and that's really what they're doing with the Tales series. I like it. I think World of Final Fantasy was a risk coming out there like that with a beast-like system like Pokemon, but it worked. Another game, and I throw it out there, and I'm playing it like crazy, but I'm taking a break because I'm working on Tales of Berseria, is Trails of Cold Steel, Legend of Heroes, Trails of Cold Steel. It's an old game that got rebooted with a new series to it. Follows a Class 7 that's, you know, part of Thor's Academy. You go about completing quests and learning about the events of the world they're in. It's a really cool game. Great system. I love it. I love the characters. Not as strong character development as Berseria has, but it is an interesting game, and it's worth like the $20-30 or whatever. I think it's $23 on Vita. I got it for Vita because I wanted the port to play while I'm downloading stuff, like finishing videos. That's another great game. Awesome skill. You know what this skill system reminds me of now that I think about it? Chrono Cross. I just thought about that. Because you can, you have these little, like, things, these little quartz. You fit into your armaments, and then you can change how your abilities work and stuff like that, and give you special powers or status buffs. So that's another cool game. What I'm saying to close in on this argument here for JRPGs is that if you're going to create a game that's on rails, that has a bunch of that has just a straight linear storyline, then create a way for people to not be remembered then. Don't leave it just as the same on-the-rails game and not have a way to branch off and let people have fun. Do not confide people to that idea, because they're not going to enjoy themselves. They're going to call it repetitive, they're going to call it redundant, and people have done that. What Berseria does so well, and I'm using Berseria as a perfect example, even though they're having some problems with their updates on PC, if you've been keeping up with me on the news shit, is that it took away the idea. When I first started playing it, I was like, fuck, another repetitive JRPG, I'm about to fucking end myself. But no, they don't. What it does, you're on the train track. You're on this ride, but you don't know it's a ride. You're like, holy shit, oh my god, I'm tripping balls, dude. Like, you don't know, and you don't realize it, because you have special beasts you have to go hunt, equipment skill systems that you gotta max out so you equip different things to create and make your character stronger. You have characters that are cool and have interactions, and like if you're watching a YouTube video version of this, you're seeing this, by the way, if you're wondering what I'm talking about, if you've never checked out my YouTube channel, it's Game Flunky. I haven't changed it yet. It's www.gameflunky or www.youtube.com/gameflunky, I think it is. I don't know. Anyway, but the point I'm making is that when you've got a world that's defined and you can't branch out, you can't see that mountain over there and go towards it, because that creates its own kind of sense of adventure. You, as a developer, have to create that sense of adventure. You cannot, because I'm telling you right now what people see. People see a mountain off in the distance, or see a lake over there, or hear about a mysterious place over here. Open world isn't the issue, it's confinement is the issue, because open world isn't always the answer. We have proven that more than not with open world MMORPGs and things like that. And same thing with single player RPGs, that open world isn't the issue, it's confinement, is what you have to offer. Fallout 4 did it best. It shrunk down the game, the size of a normal Fallout, but it put so much shit in there, you totally forgot that the game is smaller than any other Fallout, or Fallout 3. So, it's not the size of the game, it's what's inside the game. So, if you're not providing the dynamic gameplay that keeps players enamored and keep playing your product, the problem isn't the gamer or the game, it's you as a developer. And I'm not knocking them. I know there's budgeting, I know there's publishers, I know there's money you gotta pay back. I've made this argument 1,000 times. The point I'm making and what I'm closing in on is JRPGs in general, at least I feel that way, at times need to start stepping out of their comfort zone. Need to start adding more to it. You don't have to create a big open world. You don't have to create flashy powers or freaking beautiful pieces of art. You just gotta keep people involved. You just gotta make sure the world's creative. Create side quests. Okay, for instance, in Berseria, the side quests aren't just side quests. They have a direct impact to the storyline, but not like you could change anything, but it interacts with the storyline. So, if the side quest is goofy and stupid, it has nothing to do with the storyline, yeah, it'd be fun. But after so many of them, you get kind of bored, like, alright, I'm beating the shit out of like 20 rabbits for what? What am I doing? PETA's going to arrest me at this point. So the point being is, what is the purpose? Create a purpose, a dynamic, put people involved with your game. So like in Berseria, you have a certain bunch of quests that interact with the storyline and help you meet new characters. Like I said, at the end of it all, you as a developer have to find a way, if you're not going to create an open world where characters connect, or create a more expansive world, then what you have in the space that you're allowing, you have to have some way to create a better interaction between the player, the environment of the game, and then the story therein. Simple as that. Well, I've kind of made this long-winded. I hope you guys enjoy it. This is Game Flunky, and this is my opinions on the JRPG genre. Stay tuned. Here we start.